Good evening, everyone. My name is Anne Logan, and this is the I've Read This YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I am going to be reviewing How the Penguins Saved Veronica by Hazel Prior. I've never read a Hazel Prior book before. This is only her second. Her first book is called Ellie and the Heartmaker, and I believe it was a bestseller. Hazel is an author from the United Kingdom, and she's also a harpist, which explains the title of her first book. So this is all about a woman named Veronica. She's in her mid-80s, very wealthy, lives by herself in this big house in Scotland. One night she's watching a documentary about penguins, and the penguin researchers are talking about how they need money, and this certain group of penguins may go extinct. And out of the blue, Veronica sort of decides that she wants to spend some of her money and time with these penguins. So through her housekeeper, because she doesn't work on the computer herself, Veronica, she basically tells the researchers that she's coming down. She's going to stay with them for a few weeks. She's already booked her trip and she's not going to take no for an answer. So of course the researchers are like, no, please don't do this, but she does it anyways. Right before she leaves, she hires an agency to see if she has any living relatives because she's estranged from her entire family. She discovers that she has a 20-ish-year-old grandson named Patrick, who she meets a couple times, but she's very unimpressed by him. He smokes weed and he's in between jobs and she just thinks he's rude. So off she goes to the Antarctic. While she's down there, she has many adventures. She's quite spry for her age, and she's, purchased all the top equipment that you need when you're down there. So she, maneuvers around quite easily. And the researchers sort of reluctantly accept that she's going to be there for a few weeks. Something bad happens, and then Patrick has to go down to see Veronica. You can probably guess what that is based on her age. Veronica actually leaves some old letters with Patrick before she goes, and their letters, they're actually her diaries from when she was a child. So we learn a little bit about Veronica and why she is the way she is, which is sort of curmudgeonly. She's a really fun character to read about, but she generally hates other people and can be very difficult and stubborn. At one point, Veronica brings a baby penguin into the research station and nurses it back to health. So this book is very heartwarming. It's easy to read, very plot driven. It's your typical commercial fiction. I compare it to, Frederick Bachman's books, or what this book is very similar to, and it even looks like it, is Where'd You Go, Bernadette? And in that book, Bernadette is also an eccentric female who ends up in the Antarctic. So there's that really obvious parallel, but it's the same kind of writing. It's this quirky humor where the dialogue back and forth is very funny, and just it's these kind of funny-ish, happy situations that with like underlying unhappiness and depression underneath it. So it's sort of a way of approaching these darker subjects, but with humor. I'm not sure what you would call that or what kind of genre that book is, but it's becoming more and more popular, and I think publishers are realizing that there's a real appetite for these kind of heartwarming, feel-good books. I felt good reading the book. I was excited to pick it up every night just because it made me feel so good. So during a global pandemic, for instance, this is a wonderful book to dive into. There's not a lot else to say other than this is just a really lovely read. I can think of so many people in my life that I would easily recommend this book to, and I know that they'd like it. There's a little discussion section in the back for book clubs. I would recommend this to book clubs who don't necessarily pick the plot apart, because if you pay too close attention to certain plot points, everything will start to unravel. It's not that kind of book. It's not this like intricately designed narrative. It's made to make the reader feel good, and it absolutely does that, which is why I'm recommending it and why I liked reading it so much. So there you go. How the Penguins Saved Veronica by Hazel Prior. Highly recommended. If you want to follow along with any of my other book reviews or bookish adventures, check out my website, ivereadthis.com, and I've got all my social media links down below. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight, guys, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Bye!